Hi everyone, my name is Nicolas. I work at Cisco, and basically this presentation is because I cringe every time I hear about the virtual reality use case for Wi-Fi 7, for Wi-Fi 8, etc. Because we're being sold first the metaverse, then a world where you're going to work with a virtual reality headset on, and I've tried it. And I'm not someone who gets dizzy, but it's just annoying. It's just not practical to have something on your face. So I'm really someone who doesn't believe in it. So I wanted to get into it to really see what's true and what's not. So how did I start? I got myself a Steam Deck so I could play in the couch and not be alone in my office on my gaming PC. And this is great, but it can only do so much with the graphic inside it. But you can stream a game from your gaming PC to the console. That's what the PlayStation Portal is doing as well. And I was amazed how good this works. So just a short video. It's completely stupid to play in front of the computer, but it's just to show side by side that it's really hard to notice a difference of latency between the two. You can be remote and playing, and someone watches you play on the computer, and it doesn't feel your remote. It's really only a few milliseconds of latency, so it's not noticeable. All of that worked fine on my Wi-Fi 5 setup. So I'm like, why do we need more? Then I got myself an Oculus Quest 2, and that's a great device as well. It can run games on the headset itself, and there you basically don't need Wi-Fi. If you use Wi-Fi, it's just for internet connectivity. So anything that runs on the headset does not need a strong connection. However, if you are into Steam games, this is Half-Life Alyx, which is, to me, the best game on the VR. It is flawless, again, to play on the VR headset. I was told originally that we needed a special protocol. We needed 802.11ad, AY, the 60 gigahertz Wi-Fi, to have this working fine. The early adopters of VR were using a cable, and streaming with the cable, it's terrible. Having a cable hanging is just really bad. But I tried it over Wi-Fi, and everyone on the internet, people discourage it, but it just works flawlessly again. So a small quiz, and you can answer for yourself, but how many Quest 2 playing at 120 frames per second at 2000 by 2000 resolution can you put together and still have working fine on a single 5 gigahertz channel? For the record, it's an 80 megahertz channel, but you don't even need 80, you can do it on 40. Well, you can actually stick more than one. So these are my stats while playing. You can see it's 25% channel utilization of downstream, a few percent of upstream, and you get a few extra of interference in other clients. So that was quite surprising. Taking a PCAP, this is only 25 megabits over the air. Why is this? Because in the Steam settings, they talk about 100 megabit streaming. That's typically the numbers you read. But this is just to be on the safe side. But this is video compression, and they're very good at that. We have great algorithms now. So in a typical movie or game, 25 megabit is enough for a very high definition to work. It is also using quality of service, so it's not by default, but you do have an option to use the video quality of service, which I think helps a lot. Strangely enough, my wired PC, which was the gaming PC, only reported 5 megabit, 6 megabit of throughput, so I don't know which stats was wrong. So from there, I'm like, let's take it up a notch. What do we have? This is a place in Belgium they opened recently. It's a free roam VR where the headset has cameras and it does tracking from the logos on the walls and the ground. So as you walk in reality, you walk in the game. So it's a shooting game, but it's ultra realistic because you're not moving with controllers, you're not teleporting, you're actually moving around. So if you bump into someone in a game, you bump into someone in reality as well. So it's super cool. And then I went there, asked my kids to play, and then I was hiding in a corner taking a Wireshark packet capture with my MacBook, like the nerd I am. So this is what they do. I kind of like their setup. You can see they have 4 or 5 Wi-Fi 6E access points in the middle. They're not too close to each other, so you can see it's people who know Wi-Fi who designed this. But they're all in the middle. Why is that? Why are they not spread out? Because they each broadcast a different SSID. So each AP has a unique SSID name, and this allows them to lock 2 headsets, just like in my test, per access point. So they know there will never be 3 headsets on the same AP, because if they were allowing roaming, you could have several players on the same AP, and you cannot then control how many VR headsets you have on a single AP. So I think this is a great design. The only drawback is that it limits the size of the room. You cannot have a huge warehouse because you do not have roaming practically. So if you want a bigger warehouse, you need to allow roaming somehow. But then you could have capacity issues. So all in all, this is all very fancy, very marketing, but what is VR? VR is just video streaming downstream and a very small upstream throughput for the controls. So the headset movement, the controller controls, this is just a few kilobits, but a lot of very frequent packets because you have to always update the position of the head. So those are very frequent packets. I saw also recently on LinkedIn, the Wireless Broadband Alliance, and I hope there's no one from there here, they published a report on virtual reality and Wi-Fi 7, and that report is all good, but there's a bunch of things that were not clear in it, or I didn't really like that they were not clarified. They do not talk about quality of service at all. To me, that's a bit strange. The way they were testing is they were doing iPerf tests while someone was playing a streaming game, which I don't think is a very realistic use case. Typically, VR is used in dedicated areas. You don't have someone doing a huge file transfer next to someone playing virtual reality, so I don't know about the realism of that. 320 megahertz channels, we saw it's not really useful because it works in 80. If you have only one headset, you can do it on 40. Why the 320 megahertz channel? You're wasting bandwidth for not much. But they wanted to show someone downloading 2 gigabits next to someone using VR, which, okay, then you use the 320 megahertz. And they're talking about jitter of 100 milliseconds, but they were streaming from the cloud. So they were subscribed to a gaming service on the cloud and streaming the game from the internet, which I think does not really test the Wi-Fi. It tests the internet connection. So, yeah. For the record, in my VR testing at home, I have 7 millisecond latency between the rendering on the GPU, Wi-Fi, and then the headset. That's what Steam VR is reporting. So I think it's 7 milliseconds is pretty good. Now, I make it very simple, and I have, to be honest, a very test lab-oriented use case. This is a use case we had at Cisco that I heard of, engineering company working with Meta, and they have a training room with 10 to 20 workers, but they use applications like Unreal, Unity. Those really focus on 3D modeling, so it's that use case where they engineer a new part and then people can visualize it and so on. That is not really made to be video compression efficiency like Steam, right? This is more about quality and also about security. So they have various applications that encrypt pixel by pixel, and they guarantee the model of your part does not leave the engineering department. It does not leave the factory. So you could even stream it remotely to someone, remotely playing on the VR headset, but everything is encrypted pixel by pixel, super secure. But the drawback is that the compression is non-existent. So you have really 100 megabit, 200 megabit of streaming. So those are extremely demanding. So those use cases, yes, they might need Wi-Fi 7. They might need very large channels. Absolutely. But then again, people don't move a lot. So they move around in a 5-10 meter area. So you could do like that VR room I went to where you have dedicated AP per headset, and it's locked because people are not going to walk around manipulating parts on their VR, just walking around. It doesn't make too much sense to me. So if it's a stationary design, there is very important. You can lower the transmit power, focus on a single client, and then you can blast 320 megahertz or whatever you want. So my conclusions, I hear a lot of people every day saying, oh, but if I can do 2 gigabits of iPerf test on this because I have 160 megahertz channel, whatever, that means I can have 10 clients doing 200 megabit streaming. Wrong. iPerf is very fake in the sense that it's a large data transfer. It's using aggregation to the max, so it's really optimized for the maximum throughput. If you stream, if you use a real application, not all packets are the maximum size. You have a lot of small packets. So this is wasting airtime for nothing. So this is why in my test we had only 25 megabit, but the airtime was used 30% by that already. So if you don't know how the application of your customer behaves, you cannot predict. It's wrong to always calculate with throughput. You cannot say I have this throughput in my cell. I will never insist as well that QoS is really important. So we kind of forgot, since we don't have voice SSIDs and so on anymore, we forget about QoS. It's still very important. Video for virtual reality is extremely important. It's going to prioritize that traffic over the rest. And that's all I wanted to share today.